Think of your glasses not as a medical necessity, but as the architecture of your face. For a man over 50, a pair of glasses is the most powerful accessory you can own because it sits right in the line of sight of every person you meet. It has the incredible ability to either frame your eyes with authority and intelligence or act as a heavy anchor that drags your entire silhouette toward the floor. Many of us choose our frames based on what was popular 20 years ago or simply what feels functional at the moment. But we have to realize that the wrong shape or the wrong color can emphasize dark circles, highlight deep wrinkles, and make you look like you have stopped paying attention to the modern world. Today on Mature Elegance, we are going to look at the 5 eyewear mistakes that are silently sabotaging your appearance, and how you can choose frames that actually lift your features and enhance your executive presence. This is not just about seeing better, it is about being seen as the sophisticated man you have become. Let us start with the structure that defines your entire expression. Let us dive deep into the first and perhaps the most common mistake I see on mature faces today, and I like to call this the droopy frame trap. To truly understand why this is such a critical error, we have to be brutally honest about the biology of aging and how it affects the architecture of our face. When we were in our 20s and 30s, our facial structure followed what designers call the triangle of youth. Our cheekbones were high, our jawlines were sharp, and everything had a natural upward energy. However, as we cross the threshold of 50, gravity begins to win the battle, and that triangle starts to flip upside down. The skin loses its elasticity, the corners of our eyes might sag just a millimeter or two, and the nasolabial folds, running from the nose to the mouth, begin to deepen. This creates a series of downward diagonal lines that dominate our expression. The mistake most men make is choosing a pair of glasses that accidentally mirrors these downward lines. I am talking specifically about those oversized teardrop shapes or the classic aviator styles that many of us grew up idolizing. While those frames are legendary and worked perfectly when we had the tight skin of a young pilot, they become a liability as we mature. The heavy bottom curve of a teardrop frame acts like a visual arrow that points directly at your jowls and your neck. It drags the observer's eye down, emphasizing the very areas we want to minimize. Think about the expression of a tired basset hound. Those drooping lines convey a sense of exhaustion, a lack of vitality, and a feeling that you are simply worn out by the burdens of the world. Even if you have slept 10 hours and you are feeling sharper than ever, a droopy frame will tell everyone in the room that you are tired, uninspired, and perhaps a bit overwhelmed. It breaks the horizontal balance that a masculine face needs to look authoritative and energetic. Furthermore, we must talk about the positioning of the frame. Many men have the habit of letting their glasses slide down and sit too low on the bridge of the nose. This creates a long, sagging visual line that makes the nose appear significantly larger and the cheeks appear heavier. It creates a silhouette of surrender rather than a silhouette of command. When you walk into a boardroom or a high-stakes social event, you want your face to communicate alertness and executive presence. You want to look like the man who is leading the charge, not the man who is being dragged down by the weight of his own accessories. A frame that follows the downward slump of your face is not just a style choice, it is a psychological signal that you have stopped fighting for your best self. The fix is what I like to call a non-surgical facelift through eyewear. We want to create a visual counter-reaction to gravity. Instead of following the downward curves of your face, you need a frame that provides a deliberate upward lift. You should look for shapes that have a slight upward tilt at the outer corners, almost like a very subtle wing that draws the observer's eye toward your temples and the top of your ears. This creates a sense of energy and movement. Think of a refined wayfarer style, or a modern soft rectangular frame with a strong and perfectly straight top line. This top line acts as a new horizon for your face, creating a sense of structure that offsets any natural sagging. Angularity is your best friend as a mature gentleman. If your features have softened with age, you need the hard edges of a well-defined frame to restore that sense of masculinity and sharpness. A frame with a higher bridge will also shorten the perceived length of your nose and lift your entire facial structure. When you put on a frame that lifts your features, you will notice an immediate change in your posture and your confidence. You stop looking like a man who is being pulled down by time, and you start looking like a man who has mastered his journey. It is about choosing a frame that looks like it is defying gravity, giving you a look that is vibrant, alert, and undeniably in command of the room. Now that we have discussed the structural shape of your glasses, we must move to an even more critical element that often goes overlooked, and that is the color and weight of the material itself. I call this second mistake the black hole effect. It happens when a mature gentleman chooses heavy, thick, and solid jet black frames, thinking they provide a sense of boldness or modern style. But as we have discussed in our grooming series regarding hair dye, solid black is often the enemy of the aging complexion. When you were in your 20s, a thick black frame was a powerful fashion statement that contrasted beautifully with young, resilient skin. However, as we cross into our 50s and beyond, our skin tone naturally changes, becoming more muted and delicate. When you place a solid, aggressive black frame against a mature face, it creates a visual void that sucks in all the light from your surroundings. Instead of framing your eyes and making them the center of attention, the glasses become the only thing people see. It is like wearing a heavy mask that hides your personality. But even worse is what it does to your features. That harsh black line acts like a high contrast filter that emphasizes every dark circle, every fine line, and every shadow under your eyes. If you have been struggling with looking tired, your heavy black glasses might be the primary culprit. They make your skin look sallow and drained of vitality, often giving you a stern or unapproachable appearance that can be mistaken for grumpiness or a lack of energy. You don't want to look like a caricature of a strict official from a past era. You want to look like a modern leader who is vibrant and engaged. The fix for this is about introducing warmth, depth, and translucency back into your wardrobe. True elegance for the mature man is found in the subtle details, not in loud, solid blocks of color. I want you to reconsider the materials you are putting on your face. Instead of solid black, look for frames that have a level of translucency, which allows light to pass through the material and reflect back onto your skin. This creates a soft, healthy glow that instantly makes you look more approachable and energetic. I highly recommend exploring rich tortoiseshell patterns, which are a timeless staple for any gentleman. The mix of ambers, browns, and honey tones provides a natural complexity that complements almost every skin tone. If you prefer something more contemporary, look at deep navy blue, olive green, or a warm mahogany brown. These colors provide the structure and authority of a dark frame, but with a softness that respects the natural changes in your appearance. If you are truly committed to a darker look, try charcoal gray or a matte smoke finish. These options provide a sophisticated, architectural feel without the harshness of jet black. It is about finding a frame that works in harmony with your face, one that adds light to your eyes rather than casting a shadow over your entire presence. When you choose a frame with the right tone and translucency, you aren't just wearing glasses, you are enhancing your visual identity with class and intention. We have talked about the shape, and we have talked about the color, but now we must address a choice that many men make with the best of intentions, but with disastrous results. I call this the invisible frame fallacy. It is the belief that if you wear rimless or semi-rimless glasses, you are somehow hiding the fact that you need glasses at all. Many gentlemen over 50 opt for these invisible frames because they think it makes their faces look cleaner, lighter, and perhaps less aged. They believe that by removing the frame, they are removing the distraction. But the truth is exactly the opposite. In the world of mature elegance, your glasses are not something to be hidden. They are a tool for defining your character. When you wear rimless glasses, you are removing the architecture from your face. As we have discussed, the natural aging process tends to soften our features. Our jaw lines become less defined, and our brow ridge may lose some of its prominence. By wearing a frame that has no visible borders, you are essentially allowing your face to fade into the background. It creates a washed-out, ghost-like appearance where there is no clear distinction between your features and your accessories. Instead of looking younger, you often end up looking frail or lacking in energy. There is no contrast to draw the eye, and without contrast, there is no focus. Furthermore, rimless glasses often carry a very specific aesthetic from the late 90s and early 2000s. Unless you are a high-tech billionaire in Silicon Valley, these frames can make you look like you are stuck in a corporate cubicle from 25 years ago. They suggest a lack of stylistic evolution and a fear of making a bold statement. The fix is about embracing the power of structure. You must remember that a well-chosen frame acts as a frame for your eyes, which are your most communicative feature. If you are worried about a full frame being too heavy, you do not have to jump straight to a thick plastic frame. The middle ground is found in refined metal frames or high-quality acetate with a slim profile. A full rim frame in a matte metallic finish like titanium or brushed gold provides a clean architectural line that defines your face without overwhelming it. It gives your eyes a clear border, making them pop and giving your gaze a sense of intent and authority. If you truly prefer a lighter look, consider a semi-rimless frame where the top half of the lens is encased in a strong horizontal bar. This provides the necessary structure to define your brow line while keeping the lower half of your face open and airy. It creates a sophisticated, intellectual look that communicates that you are a man of detail and substance. When you stop trying to hide your glasses and start using them to anchor your look, you reclaim the visual narrative of your face. You move from being a man who is disappearing into his age to a man who is defining his age with confidence and class. It is about having the courage to stand out and the wisdom to know that a strong frame is a sign of a strong personality. We have discussed the shape, the color, and the structure, but now we must address the fundamental mathematics of your face. I call this fourth mistake the scale disconnect. It is a subtle error that can completely undermine even the most expensive pair of designer frames. Many men over 50 fall into a habit of wearing the same size of glasses they wore 20 years ago, failing to realize that our faces actually change in volume and proportion as we mature. Whether it is through natural weight fluctuations or the gradual thinning of the facial tissues, the scale of your eyewear must evolve alongside your bone structure. When there is a mismatch between the size of your frames and the width of your face, you create a visual disharmony that screams poor fit and a lack of self-awareness. The most common version of this mistake is wearing frames that are far too small for your head. When your glasses are too narrow, they pinch the sides of your temples and create a bulging effect above and below the arms of the glasses. This makes your face appear much wider and more swollen than it actually is. It creates the illusion that you have outgrown your own accessories, giving you a cramped and uncomfortable appearance. Think of it like wearing a suit jacket that is 2 sizes too small. It does not make you look thinner, it only emphasizes that you are trying to squeeze into something that no longer fits. On the other hand, we have the opposite problem, where men choose frames that are massive and oversized. This is often an attempt to look trendy, or perhaps to hide behind a large lens. But on a mature face, oversized frames make you look fragile and small. It looks like the glasses are wearing you, rather than you wearing the glasses. It makes your head appear tiny and diminishes your executive presence, turning a sophisticated gentleman into someone who looks like he is wearing a costume. The fix for the scale disconnect is about finding the perfect mathematical balance for your unique features. You want to look for what I call the Goldilocks zone of eyewear. The first rule of thumb is the temple width. The arms of your glasses should run straight back to your ears without bowing outward or digging into the sides of your head. If the frames are bowing out, they are too small. If there is a large gap between the arm and your temple, they are too large. You want a silhouette that feels like a seamless extension of your natural bone structure. The second critical factor is the centering of your eyes within the lens. Ideally, your pupils should be positioned almost exactly in the center of each lens, both horizontally and vertically. If your eyes are too close to the bridge, the glasses look too wide for you. If they are sitting in the upper third of the lens, the frames are too deep. Proper centering ensures that your gaze remains the focal point of your face, communicating clarity and intelligence. When the scale is correct, the glasses act as a silent partner to your features, providing structure and definition without ever becoming a distraction. It is about the quiet luxury of a perfect fit, a signal to the world that you are a man who understands his own proportions and values the precision of his presentation. When you master the scale, you master the first impression. Finally, we must address the most seductive mistake of all, and I call this the fashion victim trap. It is that sudden and often desperate urge to chase the latest trends we see on social media or in high fashion magazines. We do this because we believe that if we wear exactly what the 20-year-old influencers are wearing, we will somehow capture a fragment of their youth and energy. But for a man of maturity and established status, following every fleeting trend is actually the fastest way to lose your visual authority. There is a profound difference between being modern and being trendy. When you are over 50, trying too hard to look cool often results in looking like you are wearing a costume of someone you are not. You move from being a sophisticated gentleman to being a man who looks like he is having a crisis of identity in the middle of a designer store. I see this often with the current obsession for tiny micro frames, or those extreme avant-garde shapes that belong on a high-fashion runway in Paris rather than in a professional boardroom. While those styles might look edgy on a 19-year-old model, on a mature face, they often appear eccentric in all the wrong ways. They clash with the wisdom and the gravitas that you have spent decades building. Or perhaps it is the trend of wearing completely transparent, clear plastic frames. While they can look great on certain skin tones, on many mature men, they can look like cheap safety goggles, and they lack the necessary structure to define your features. When you chase these trends, you are signaling to the world that you are more concerned with what is popular for 5 minutes today than with what is timeless and true to yourself. You are allowing the fashion industry to define you, rather than defining your own personal brand with confidence and class. The fix is about embracing the power of the timeless classic with a modern twist. True elegance is about understanding that your style should be an evolution, not a desperate reach for a past that no longer exists. I want you to look for what I call heritage shapes, which are the silhouettes that have stood the test of time for a reason. Think of the classic P3 round frames, the authoritative Wayfarer, or the sophisticated Clubmaster. These shapes have been worn by leaders and icons for generations because they work in harmony with the human face. Being classic does not mean being boring or dated. You modernize these shapes through the quality of the materials. Instead of cheap plastic, look for high-quality Italian acetate or hand-polished Japanese titanium. These materials have a weight and a luster that communicate luxury and success without having to shout. When you choose a frame based on quality and fit rather than a fleeting trend, you are telling the world that you are a man of substance who values longevity over novelty. And that brings our masterclass on eyewear to a close. We have covered the droopy frame trap that pulls your face down, the black hole effect of solid black frames, the invisible frame fallacy that makes you fade away, the scale disconnect of poor-fitting glasses, and finally, the danger of being a fashion victim. When you look at these 5 points together, you realize that choosing glasses is not just about vision, it is about the architecture of your character. It is about the self-discipline to maintain high standards in every detail of your presentation. I want to challenge you today to take a long and honest look in the mirror. Identify which of these frames you are wearing and decide if they truly represent the man you have become. Choose just one thing to improve this week. Perhaps it is time to retire those old black frames for something with warmth and translucency. I promise you that when your eyewear aligns with your internal authority, the world will treat you with a new level of respect. If this series has helped you see your style in a new light, I invite you to join our community here at Mature Elegance. We are building a space for men who know that their best years are not a memory, but a mission. Subscribe if you are ready to live with intention and lead with style. I am your companion on this journey to refinement. Stay sharp, stay healthy, and, as always, live with elegance.